So, hello again, welcome in our first video update. We are very excited, the whole team is very excited about the response we've got, about how the campaign went so far. And since it was quite a bumpy ride over the last 2 years and sometime it looked that we may not made it, it's a large satisfaction for us. And there is not enough thank you I can say to you, because we are very excited and grateful for the reactions the game caused, and I hope we will not disappoint you, because we owe you a lot. So thank you very much. Another thing I would like to say is something about our future plans. During the rest of the campaign, which is about 24 days ahead of us, we plan to release several video updates like this one, where we will show you the major features of the game. First will be probably the world and locations, and comparison between the real world location like this monastery and their counterparts in the game. Then we plan to have a video update about combat, about horses, character customization, and probably about NPC life cycles. So I hope that you will see a lot of features that we didn't show so far. And finally, by the end of the campaign, we plan to we have a big surprise for you, I hope. So stay tuned for future updates. Another thing is that you have a lot of questions on Kickstarter campaign. You send us a lot of messages and emails. We are kind of flooded with it, so we received like 7,000 messages over Kickstarter. We have 4 people sitting and answering those messages, but it's still not enough. So I'm sorry if somebody didn't receive a response from us faster. We are doing all we can to answer as soon as possible, but to kind of make it a little bit better, we are planning, or we probably already, when you're watching this, we probably already released a big update answering most common questions you ask us. So have a look at it, and hopefully it answers most of the things that were not clear. Hello and welcome to our first video update, in which we are going to show you how we build the worlds to our game. So as you probably know, the world in our game is based on real-world locations, and we are trying to be as authentic and accurate as possible. And this applies to a map of the world itself. So it's based in a real-world location, and now I'm going to show you how I started when I was planning where the game will take place. So at the beginning there was a map. It's actually a map from 18th or 19th, early 19th century. And I was looking for interesting locations, and I found a nice small town which curiously has 2 castles at each end, which I found quite interesting. And then I also found that they have some connection with our main story. So it was the right location to choose. Then I started to search places that are nearby, and I realized that there are many interesting stuff, like several castles, some monastery, a lot of places that we can use in the game. So I selected an area on the map which would cover all the interesting places, and then started to work on it because it was quite large, so we needed to compress it a little bit so everything fits into a reasonable size of the map, and at the same time the place still looks authentic and doesn't feel like it's too much compressed or weird. So the first thing I did, I started to select the areas that are kind of boring, empty, not interesting, and the result is this. We have a map, and the green strips are the places that are going to be cut. The pink locations are the areas of interest, the most important part, and the rest is something that we will need to stretch together when we remove the green areas. We did it. So in the end we have a map which looks like this. This is a final map for the game. So when the map was ready, we bought a satellite height map with a resolution of about 1 meter per pixel, which is quite high. And we started to adjust the satellite map with our in-game map so they fit. And then we start to paint the world in CryEngine itself. We start to paint trees, roads, build cities, give it textures and stuff, which is something that you can see the difference between the empty world and the satellite in the video. On the map from the game, you can see that I marked a lot of areas in the map with numbers. The numbers are corresponding with our design documents, where we have a lot of directories with every map, which should serve as some type of guide for artists how the particular area should look like. So here you can see that we selected a lot of interesting, nice locations, and different parts of the map should look like these locations in terms of colors, atmosphere, vegetation, and so on. And when we are at this point, we start our research. So we read a lot of books, we go to archives to find some old maps or plans of the locations or interiors of castles or buildings. We are consulting with historians, and of course we are going to on location to take pictures of the location, to shoot textures, see how it looks personally, have some impression of the scale of the area, and so on. So now let me take you outside to see how the in-game locations look in a real world. Here we stand in front of Ratai's Upper Castle, which is the biggest castle in Act 1. As you can see behind me, it's not actually what you can see in the trailer, because the castle was later replaced by a chateau, and then the chateau was devastated by 40 years of communist rule, so it's in quite bad state. Only thing that's probably left from the 15th century already is this wall, which you can actually see in the game if you are careful. And we are standing on a bridge that was formerly crossing the big castle moat, and which is not there anymore. And the gate behind there was a big tower. What we did is that we asked a local archaeologist who was doing some excavation work here, and showed him our sketches of how we think the castle looked, and consulted how it probably looked. We may make it a little bit bigger than it actually was. So originally it probably has only one tower, and we gave it 2 towers. But since nobody knows how it actually looked before, it's probably okay. Only part that's most likely the same as it was in the 15th century are the dungeons under the castle, and so we will probably show you the dungeons underground of the castle as well. And here you can see one of the walls of the castle. As you can see, it's like 1, 2, 3 and something meters thick. And now we are going to go to the castle dungeons, which are also 15th century, maybe earlier, I guess, dungeons from the same time the game takes place. So here we are in the original 15th century medieval refrigerator. It's dug in rock. It's really maybe even earlier than 15th century, and it was used to keep food fresh during the summer. It was filled with ice, and the ice was able to be there for the whole summer. It was very cold here. There is a tunnel that took melted ice away, water from the melted ice away, and it's not a big place. It's not connected with the rest of the castle dungeons. There are several others, and there is also one documented secret passage, which is in the lower castle. It was used to bring water from the nearby river or escape the castle in danger, but it's not definitely a large underground complex. Here we are standing in another original 15th century dungeon, which is probably some potato storage room. You can see here that there was no need to build a wall here because it's standing on a large rock massif. This tunnel is also very old and part of the probably former basement of the 15th century castle. This large X is there because it was used during communist era. So in case of World War III, the kids would take shelter here. Jo, tady je ještě další. Tady se koukni, Nikolaj. And another place in the tunnel. Tak tady to je teda fakt veliký. Jo, a tohle je ta zbrojnice už. Well, this is starting to be quite complex basement. This is probably the biggest part of the basement, and it was used, you can see a door there, it was used as the fireman station because we are in the rock, but there is exit from the rock to the side on the street, and there was a fireman car stored there. So here we are at the top of the hill where Rataj Castle stands. There was a beautiful view actually. It's in the trailer and there are no trees. The reason why there are no trees is that when they build the castles they cut all the trees so they can use the wood to build the castle, and also for better defense because they could see if there's an army marching towards them or something, and of course the attackers couldn't hide in the forest around the castle. But if there were no trees, you could probably saw that the countryside below us is exactly the same as in the game. There is a Sázava river, there is a small village there that will be there, and on the left there is a place and there is a mill where part of the trail takes place. This here is one of the two town gates of Rataj. This one is only remaining, and of course you can see the gate in the game as well, right at the beginning of our demo. The buildings of course are not there in the game. They are much newer, so there is just countryside around us in the game. And here we stand at the Perkstein Castle, which is a lower castle in the town of Rataj, and you can see that it's most of it is the same as in the 15th century as it looks in the game. You can see the castle on the screenshots. The difference is that the tower was originally much higher. The stones from the tower were probably used to build some houses around. There was also a bigger moat around the castle, and this wall is just in ruins. So in the game there is a much bigger wall, and there is a moat where there is a refugee camp in the moat from your former city. But you can see that the gate, and the tower and the buildings behind it, we are hopefully going to see them very soon, are the same. The wooden structure there is new, it's not original. Back in the office we have tons of materials to work with. Our concept artists start to make detailed sketches of the locations, buildings and artworks that should show our 3D artists how the locations exactly look, the mood and the colors. And then the 3D artists start to work on it to create 3D models, and they used the pictures we took as the textures. So I hope you liked what you saw. We are going to continue in a few days, and we are going to show you our combat system, character customizations, horse riding, or things like AI systems. So stay tuned for future updates.